The Army's premier training, the best our soldiers can get before heading to war. And tonight we're getting a first-hand look at the National Training Center.
Located in the Mojave Desert in California, our Fort Hood's 3rd Brigade is there right now. KCEN HD News reporter Tiffany Pelt spent a week with them and has now escaped. Tiffany, how was it?
Well, Doug and Nikki, it was one of the toughest weeks I've had mentally and physically. Simply put, it was exhausting. And our troops, about 5,000 of them, will be at NTC for about a month, dealing with some of the most intense environments.
It's pretty bad out here.
Welcome to the box.
I don't even know how to explain how exhausting it gets.
The dreaded sand pit, meant to test your limits.
Essentially, if you can make it through this, you can make it through anything.
Stretching 1,200 square miles, it's a training area the size of Rhode Island, in the middle of the unforgiving Mojave Desert.
It's been cold, hot, windy. We actually had a sandstorm one day.
As far as sleeping, our troops find a truck, a tent, or even a Bradley, anywhere but the ground.
We're by the big rocks over there. Found 2 baby rattlesnakes.
To call home sweet home for a month.
It's hot, it's sandy, and it smells.
When's the last time you took a shower?
About a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago.
That's pretty normal for these soldiers, going days, even weeks without showers. Well, that's just how it goes when you're out in the desert.
Put water, go inside, and with a towel, just wet the towel and use it to, hit some hot spots is what we call.
And that's not all it's used for.
Wag bag tent is basically for us soldiers to do our response to call of nature.
You can't exactly take a porta potty up a mountain, so you take what you can get.
We can use our e-tool and dig, but then that would pose a danger to us too, because you might end up digging where what we call Jake the Snake is residing.
Which brings us to why. The harsh environment, wearing heavy gear, the not-so-gourmet meals, few hours of sleep. It's all meant to up their stress level and mimic a real deployment overseas.
This is the closest they're going to get to it as far as the amount of sleep, the amount of food, as far as hygiene goes.
And it's not just the environment they're battling with the heat and the dust and the wind. They'll actually go head-to-head with an enemy force.
Roger, engage it with all you got. We hope that the worst day they ever see is here at the NTC, where it's just miles lasers and blinking lights instead of guys actually getting hurt. And we try to make every day the worst day of their lives out here.
The 11th Armored Cav Regiment, stationed at the training center, plays the enemy, allowing for tank-on-tank battles, insurgents, and terroristic-type attacks. Anything you can imagine, they're training for it here in the box.
I feel if I were deployed now, I'd be somewhat ready.
And that is why. Because the next enemy is unknown, the next battleground is unknown, and preparing our troops for the worst possible fight in extreme conditions could save their life.
I'm excited to be here. I want some more.
What about you? Do you want some more?
No, 1 week was enough for me.
So you were there all week. You talked about the conditions and what the soldiers go through. You weren't going to the Marriott once the day was done and, having a meal and showering. You were out there with them, right?
I was. I actually stayed in the back of a trailer out in the open, kind of like a truck bed with a sleeping bag, and that's basically all I had. I ate MREs with the soldiers and ate in the chow line with them, and definitely a one-time experience.
Is it true that when you took your hair out of a ponytail, it stayed?
Yes, because I hadn't showered in a week, as you heard. There were no showers out there. So as soon as I took my ponytail out, it just stayed because of all the sand and dirt and grime that was in there.
And
Nice.
They talked about the training, and they said it's as real life as you can get in terms of preparing our soldiers for what they're going to encounter overseas. But they seem like they're in great spirits and ready to tackle it.
They are. A lot of them have never been deployed, so they really took this as an experience to kind of learn as much as they can in case, they are deployed overseas. So even though a lot of them were miserable and wanted to go home to see their families, because they actually have no contact with their families as well. It's like a real deployment. They just took advantage of the training because it's very expensive, and they probably go through this training maybe once every 2 years.
Wow. All right, Tiffany
What do
Pelt,
you have
this is
coming
not
up
the
next?
end.
No, this was just part 1 of 4. Tomorrow we're actually going to take a look at just how realistic that training is and all the layers that go into it. It's actually pretty mind-blowing, everything that goes into 1 month of training. So
All
looking
right,
forward to
Tiffany
that.
Pelt, we sure are. Thank you very much.